There we go. Hi. Welcome to the Curmudgeon in the Cellar, Curmudgeons in the Cellar, with my good guest, good friend, wingman, Jim Wampler, who will also be curmudgeoning with me tonight. We're going to talk to you about both of the cons that he and I have gone to in the last 3 weeks together. Jim.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jim Wampler, and I'm here to make amends for not doing this in the car.
I had to learn. Look at that.
Hello.
I had to learn.
Live long and prosper.
So we're going to talk first about TotalCon, Total Confusion, held generally in the Boston area of Massachusetts, very close to the Rhode Island border. I think it was Marlborough, Mass. This year. This Marlborough, Massachusetts. Jim, ever been there before? What'd you think of it?
Oh, it's my first TotalCon, and I'm a lifer. I'll go back as many times as they invite me. It's extremely warm and family friendly, and there's an esprit de corps amongst Angeli and Steve and the team that put that on that reminded me of the 70s science fiction conventions I used to go to in Louisville as a kid and a teenager.
Well, and this is their 33rd one. They've been doing it a while, and they certainly do it well.
I'm going to guess it's not the same team the whole 30 years, because that would mean Angelia started it when she was in vitro.
Oh, she'll love you for that. Well, actually, a couple of their long-time stalwarts have passed on, and there's awards, and they've been going so long, they have awards that they give to their volunteers named for deceased volunteers. And they get a little better every year, though it doesn't seem possible. You're right about the warm. They just can't do enough for you. You had your Monster energy drink in your room waiting for you. I had my ice waiting for me. Whatever you need, they got it waiting.
Well, that's great for us, but I like it when there's a families at a con with their kids and the next generation, because, we're not getting any younger.
Well, and TotalCon is the first one I went to when I came back out into going to the cons that had an entire children's program. There's children's painting and children's games and children's minis. It's not just a babysitting service, though in some ways, mom and dad are gamers. Yeah, you can take the kids, and for a few hours they're over there slopping paint all over, and you get to go play some games. And I really respect that because I'd not seen it before.
Yeah, I had a 14-year-old young woman at my table who was there without her parents in the Tomb of Horrors, and she took down an Efreet, which somebody started that young lady young.
They get some serious good players come there. I love going there every year. I've been going a long time, and unfortunately, next year there's a conflict with another con that I've wanted to go to for a few years on the same weekend. So I'm going to the other one. And I'm going to miss all my TotalCon friends because that's kind of what it is. It's a family. Even the first year when you're there as a guest, you're welcomed. They have setups for. There's always a room where the guests and the volunteers can go get a soda, go get an energy bar. A couple times a day, real food is brought in, and you can go and catch a meal. And by real food, I mean if it's not brought in from one of the restaurants, it's homemade by one of the people that's there. And I've eaten it, and it's it's just a touch you don't get at a lot of the other cons. Is homemade food that you can go find anytime and eat it. And you make so many friends there. And in my case, having gone there so many years, yeah, it is becoming like family. In your case, it already feels like family. That tells you something.
Well, it was the first time I was invited as a special guest, but because of them inviting me, the company I'm a partner in, Frog God Games, showed up, and it was kind of a test for Frog God Games. We knew we could go and run games, but would we do okay with a little table booth and stuff like that? And the frogs are all in, so they'll be back too.
That's great. That's great. What would you what's your wrap on that con? Go. Yeah, I know you're going to go again. You recommend?
Yeah. If you're not going to be there, what I heard was I have to curmudgeon 2 or 3 times as hard. I don't think I can do that. But Angeli, I'll try.
Hey, maybe it'll be a kinder, gentler TotalCon. Who knows? All right. In between, I did something in the week in between TotalCon and that I'll talk about next time. And when I went to LA, because what we really want to talk about is we want to talk about this recent GaryCon.
I will say, while you were in Hollywood, I called to check up on you, and you were the happiest I've ever heard you after knowing you all these years.
It was an amazing 4 days. I've called this recently, ended 3-week period, kind of living the life surreal. My wife pointed out that I've only been home 6.5 days out of 21. So I hadn't realized it was such a blur, but it was a lot of fun. And GaryCon's capped this thing off. Wow. That's all I can say. They grew by 25%.
Shot up over 3 grand people.
Yeah. Last I heard 3,090, and they don't count this. They don't count the guests, and they don't count the volunteers. That's, paying attending customers, so to speak.
I really want to compare and contrast the two, because this was the best GaryCon ever, and this one was superior to past cons to me because it seemed extra warm and extra family friendly with more kids at it. And maybe TotalCon prejudiced my eyes, but that's a Brogdadian. Can never pronounce that word.
Brobdingnagian.
Yeah, that one. Task with
I can never spell it. You can never say it.
With 3,000 people attending, and all kinds of stuff. Luke, Carolyn, Cliff Gold, Mike No, the whole crew. I mean, the
inevitable Turbo.
Oh, Turbo, yeah.
Don't forget
Turbo. No, Turbo. Sorry,
Turbo.
Don't hurt me.
Yeah, please.
But magnificent job of putting it on, organizing it, communicating things online. So much so that with my help, there were "Have You Asked Carolyn" T-shirts.
Yeah, that was great. Carolyn is a mainstay of the con because she's just the master organizer, the lovely, benevolent puppet master, in no way mean and evil.
I ran out of time. I was going to make my own custom shirt. No, I didn't have to ask Carolyn because I listened to her the first time.
Well, yeah, she was everything. Well, the thing I noticed was there seemed to be a heightened sense of joy. It just everybody was just even a little bit happier to be there than normal, and it's always fun. All cons have a great vibe the first 36 hours as people are arriving. You're meeting old friends and how they do and making the rounds of all that. But if anything, I think it was even a little more so. People were just so happy that here we are again, GaryCon 11.
They were actually complaining online today that because it's falling later in the month next year, it's technically slightly more than a year. We all have to wait to do it again.
Oh,
that was a complaint.
Yeah,
so that's a good complaint to have.
Oh yeah. That extra 12 or 13 day wait.
Yeah, not me. I'm just like, that's 2 more weeks of con prep.
Yeah,
I get in.
Yeah, well, it's maybe with me, with you, it's between TotalCon and GaryCon. With me, it's between Genghis Khan and GaryCon. So yes, I'm all for the extra time too. It helps.
But the attendance went up at least 600 or 700, round about.
Well,
that.
I heard it went up 600, and that's roughly 25% jump from last year.
So one of the changes from GaryCons in the old days, when I started going at 4, you were there from 1. Is as it's ramped up, it gets, that there's somebody there you want to meet and say hello to, and the whole weekend goes by and you never ran into them. The year Mike and Liz were up a couple years ago was really bad for that. But they did something this year where they distributed and organized the rooms out in the hotel different, because it didn't seem like attendance went up that much. It actually seemed better. I don't know.
They were better staffed this year in all regards at the lodge. Last year they had
Lessons learned from last year. Food service is better,
and
more crew.
they had their act better together on filling the lodge and where the events were, and there were a couple of after the book was printed changes that they handled well. Though those things always happen. They were organized very well. The fact that there was a couple of famous people there was no big deal. They were just there to play, and nobody got gawky.
Oh, dude, somebody said, "Did you know you were running a game right next to Joe Manganiello?" And I'm like, "No." And they showed me the picture, and there he was. I got focused on my players and didn't pay the least bit of attention. And there's Joe cranking it up.
Well, and there's Joe just running the game like everyone was, or playing in the game. He's just a regular guy gamer. Just happens to have the Gary Gygax Memorial Dungeon game room, the most famous playing room in North America. And I'll talk about that later because I got to see it. Got to run a game in there too. But that's next time.
But it gets my heartiest endorsement if you're ever thinking about attending. It's like a trip to Mecca, and it's totally worth it. And I mean, the sincerest compliment I can pay the con is that it's always been half game convention, half Gygax family reunion, right? So it's the Gygax family con. They're all there from all parts.
Yeah.
And because of the way they've run it, first my brother, now my brother and my sister-in-law have become regular attendees. So their family con has become our family con. And always will be now.
And to me, that's what a con should be. Whether you go to one or you can find four that give you that feeling of, hey, I belong here. These are my peeps. This is my clan, however you term it. And those are the best to go. I don't go to Gen Con anymore because it's too huge. It's impersonal. It's, way commercial. And I feel like I'm going to a trade show in Vegas as opposed to going to see my friends at TotalCon, going to see my friends at GaryCon. And GaryCon, of course, has, for me, the extra cachet of going to see a lot of my old former coworkers from the TSR days and rubbing elbows with the old guard. And that feeling of you belong there is real hard to fake. And this year, it seemed to me it was even everybody was just a little happier. It stood up a little taller. Of course, it was colder than hell outside. That may have had something coming inside. You were trying to get warm. And so that may have had something to do with it.
It's very positive. I mean, and things that are there every year ramped up this year. The Legends of Wargaming room is always cool.
Oh,
my data is skewed by just what I saw, but it looked like it ramped up. There's that giant 6 church table size Knights of Camelot board. Tom Tullis ran. Why does my brain do this? Tesla War. I'm saying it wrong. Sorry, Tom. It's very late. Tim does this all the time at midnight. It's a little late for me. And and Chainmail and Paul Stormberg and Mike Menard.
Well, and I got
your dirt track racing.
Well, I got news about the
5e and Pathfinder going, and DCC going to town in different parts of the building.
Well, the Legends of Gaming has become such a fixture at GaryCon that apparently they're going to spin off a traveling troupe of the Legends of Gaming.
Yeah.
So I've donated 5 of my Scheif, whatever those stupidly expensive rubber plastic knights.
Toy knights, but they're
cool. No, they're on their horses, they're like this tall. They're big. I have at least 54 millimeter, at least, and possibly.
I didn't mean to insult the size of your horses.
Or my knight, right? No, well, that's what makes them so fun. They're so tactile. They're so visually appealing, and then we get to play with them. Let's face it, we're playing with stuff again, and none of us gamers lose that play, whether we admit it to it ourselves or not. playing with games with pieces is more satisfying than playing with games with chits. For many people, they have to have their figures to play role-playing game, and that's fine. But anyway,
God is my witness. Next year, Awful Green Things from Outer Space with the shipboard like 4 feet long and minis.
Oh, it's going to be good.
I didn't get it together this year, but
oh yeah, it's going to be good. Well, also, we're working on a set of Legends of Gaming dice that everybody that enters the lists will be that'll be their token to take home, and fooling around with designs and stuff. But
please don't anyone else do this to me. But Tim just called me up, caught me fresh out of a nap, and 20 minutes later he had the dice design.
Oh, I love it! I love it.
That's just for this guy,
and that's because Dice Fanatics and Jared Nielsen and I are hooked up with the various things. So, bing, bing, boom, bomb. We're going to work on it, and there'll be swag at the Legends of Gamings when you joust. And I ran the jousting in my classes. And
when you were a teacher?
Yeah, and Gary gave me there's a flaw in it in the rules, and Gary gave me the solution. That if you get jostled, you always have to ride straight, and that means you're meat. So he says, well, this or that, and I'd have to look at the chart, but now you got a 50-50 chance of not getting your block knocked off after you've been jostled. So now, and oddly enough, I had girl students win the tournaments probably 2 out of 3, 2/3 of the time, actually, because they were cagier. The guys just want to go knock their block off, and they.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah, it was fun anyway.
Get a little over aggressive, and you pay the price.
Yes, you do, and they just they love it when they beat all the boys in the class. This year, it was a young lady that won the overall tournament at GaryCon. She knocked them all off. Good for her. She's a tournament champion.
I think my sister-in-law lost, but she took it the same way she took dirt track racing. She's like, okay, next year I'm gonna totally kick ass in jousting. Oh,
and in dirt track racing this year, we had the most entrants ever, and we had 9 people running, and
a great idea for next year. Thanks to Dennis Astaire, I think was the guy who. Who cracked wise on Facebook, and we're going to work it so you sell actual sponsorships and make tiny little decals that go in the car.
Yep, I'm going to do that next year.
I mean, it can't be too tiny because you got to see what you're paying for.
Yeah, but we'll
actual sponsored dirt track race.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that next year.
Message Tim, get in line because they're not going to be cheap.
Thank you. He's my agent. He gets 15%. But no, seriously, it went well. The people that played it were eager. Just about everybody put their own selves out. Nobody got taken out by somebody else's mishaps. And there's people plotting already for next year.
Well, right. You got something when they keep coming back. I mean, that's the only way I can, the only solid metric for, are you a good dungeon master? Are you a good GM? Well, do they keep coming back? Well, then you're okay. Doesn't matter what else you're doing.
Yep. And the game, I'm going to run the game again at Gamehole. His brother was the winner, and he has a interim trophy that he's holding right now.
Oh, and 2 cars he must have borrowed from you that he's dying to get back to you. He's like,
just a car in a box.
Yeah.
Well, because when he brings that to Gamehole, he gets the first of the little. I found these little ticky-tacky gold late model trophy heads. So I'm going to make up some trophies for Gamehole, or for GaryCon 2019 Gamehole.
Because who doesn't love trophies?
That's right. The smaller and the neater and the ticky-tackier, I find are cooler because you put them up somewhere and you take joy in what they mean.
And I know there was much more going on at GaryCon than just your dirt track racing game, but this is an example of what happens at a con like this, because you run that game Now, my brother's so obsessed with it, he wants the rules. So I went and bought the rules on Drive Through RPG and had him back in his email box before he got home from the drive. And you know us, so it's not going to just be the big track. It's going to have 3D printed, bandstands and rails and all kinds of crap. By the time we get done, it'll be a monster.
Well, good. I'll take that one to GaryCon in the back of my car next year if he'll let me, or ask him to take it up for me. And let him run it. Let him run it.
This is just our Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're going to be doing. Yeah. On the game table.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not everybody has that option, but yeah, she's your sister-in-law. When she decides she likes a game, she goes all in. She goes all in, and I really admire her for that. And she went all in this race, and
she went gamer fast because, unbeknownst to me, last year when Margaret Weiss won, we should talk about Larry Elmore too. But last year when Margaret Weiss won, Tamla was so happy, and she's only been a gamer for a couple 3 years now. So, and I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, I read all her books when I was in college. I'm like, oh,
wow, sweet.
To me, it was all game, and I forgot. It was just great fiction.
Yeah, and as you said, this year's winner was Larry Elmore. How can you argue that? I mean, it was Jim, and then it was me, and then it was Margaret, and now it's Larry. I mean,
Jim Ward.
Yeah, Jim Ward. Yeah, well, one day it'll be him.
I'm like third or fourth Jim in the chain.
Yeah, well, one day maybe see. Anyway, Jim Ward, Tim Cass, Margaret Weiss, and Larry Elmore.
Oh, I won't live long enough to ever win one, but for 2 weeks a year, one sits on my shelf because I built them.
Yeah, and I drive them up with in my car, and I have no idea who it is, even though I tried for about 90 seconds to weasel it out, and I gave up and said, okay, I respect that, and we drove for several hours, and I never mentioned it again.
See, Luke, I'm a good security person.
Oh, well, and I told
you drove your own award up and didn't know it 1 year.
Yeah, but we also drove Sheldon up that year. The year that Sheldon wanted to go to Gen Con, if he did Penny's thing, we took up the blow up thing, and you made the shirt that fit him, and 1,000 people took their picture with Sheldon that year. So, yeah, we like GaryCon. We go up together.
Yeah, if you haven't gotten a clue yet.
Yeah, we like GaryCon, and we have a good time. And this year we even had a third. We had another Kentuckian in the back. I was feeling a little outnumbered there.
Poor Thaddeus. Poor Thaddeus.
Yeah,
he had to put up with us.
Yeah, and sitting in that less than comfortable seat. But as he said, it was better than when he was sitting in Iraq.
Well, I mean, everybody always wants, wouldn't that be the coolest conversation to eavesdrop on? Well, not when Tim and I are having a fight, slap fight over something. No, it's not so fun. Poor Thaddeus had to listen to all that crap.
Yeah, but he got a couple of sober quits, or he got a couple of salutations from me, as you do, the ones you wait for. We won't mention them because we're trying to make this suitable for work. But the famous salutes, yeah, the accompanying words.
Oh,
that one, yes.
The double dwarven salute?
Yeah, that one. That one. So he got a few of those too and jumped right into the spirit of the game.
And I know Thaddeus had a great GaryCon because I saw him, just dice monkeying away the whole con. Plus he sold a crap ton of those OSR patches.
Oh yeah, he paid for his lodging with his patches. Great. Way to go.
If you've ever been online and seen, there are different styles. One's the Darlene logo style.
Yep, he made. I was
hit
looking
Thaddeus up because he makes good stuff.
There. Let me show me that. The hat. Hand me your hat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, Thaddeus. I told Thaddeus in his patch, he's got a nice design for patches. So I said, all right, Thaddeus, I need a hat before I go to GaryCon. What can you whip me up? And so he's got a guy that embroiders. Oops,
I got it.
And so this is what he whipped me up.
Oh, so Thaddeus made that?
Yeah. Well, Thaddeus' friend. Thaddeus designed it, and his friend embroidered it. So yeah, that's his design. I didn't like the first font we used, but that he found that one. I go, that's it. And then the little hat thing, now he gets it. That's one of two gray hats. There was a strange, you saw that strange purple one or blue or whatever. I gave that to Susie Simon, the lady that works with Stefan Picorni.
Oh,
so it was kind of it was
no payment is too great for that task.
Well, yeah, well, that's for sure. Plus, I didn't think that it was a color that most guys would feel happy wearing. And she was like,
you never know.
well, no, but she really loved it. And so, my wife would have liked that color, but I didn't. It was a little too feminine for me, but I'm not going to get in trouble. No. Lovely color, just not my taste. And this is for Jay Libby. Jay Libby, I did a guest lecture for Jay Libby, and he's out in TotalCon. And I did a guest lecture for him online for his journalism class. And they sent me this shirt from Central Maine Community College, established 1964. I gotta stand up for this. Go Mustangs. All right, Jay.
Don't hurt yourself. Oh, yeah. Great thing about TotalCon was getting to hang with Jay and his lovely wife just a little bit.
Yeah, and then he got ill and he had to leave. And that's usually one of the highlights of the con is Jay's party. And often we get told to be quiet once or twice. And it's from that party that we all go out and take the mob picture. And Jay got some kind of stomach thingy and had to go home early, which is a drag. But
hey, dude, no con crud.
Yes, his good. All right, give him your recipe.
We're the Viking. We're the Viking meme. Fight us if you wish, but we're old for a reason.
That's right. Tell him your successful method that I adopted.
Oh, I owe it all to Stefan Pogue, who's an artist for Good Games, who a couple years ago hipped me to do emergency every morning, whether you think you need it or not, and even a couple of days prior to the con. Although that's been successful. 2 years con crud free, but it was the norovirus going around this time, so emergency would have done crap all to fix that.
But we stayed healthy, and that's the main thing. You don't go to cons run down. You don't get there any more tired than you can help it, and if you do get there tired, go to sleep, go to bed. Because if you run down that first day, you're going to take home something that you weren't planning on. That's for sure.
Well, it's a 3,000 gamer daycare center. It's bound to happen.
Well, sure. It's just like, like when I was teaching in the lower, when I was working in elementary school, you get exposed to everything every kid in the class has. Every kid in the class gets exposed to whatever every other kid in the class has, and so somebody's nose is always dripping. And you just hope it isn't yours this time.
God, you're making my nose drip just talking about it.
What else was great about GaryCon? Everything was great about it.
Food service was much improved.
Yes.
And it wasn't that, especially online, we can be a needy bunch. It wasn't that bad last year, but there were issues and they fixed them. And that's the message. If you had a problem at the con, that's, I don't want to sound like a shill, but that's the thing. I was on GaryCon staff up until 3 years ago for about 4 years, and they take it very seriously. Luke, Mike, Noe, and Carolyn and Cliff especially. So Sunday, I know there was a GaryCon after meeting. They do the same thing at TotalCon, and we actually got to participate in that one.
Yep.
Where it's like, what were the issues and how the hell do we fix them? So the problems that do happen, because it's impossible for them not to happen. Just let them know. You don't have to, faux outrage on Facebook about it. Just let them know, because they're all in on how can they make it better every year.
Every year, yep.
This year you could tell. Because there was the hotel was staffed up better and there was better food service.
Yeah, and
better food.
As far as the staffing, I got to hand it to them. They stepped up and they had a lot more people, so the food got to you hotter. A lot of people were griping about, oh, you can find a better frozen pizza than this. Well, yeah, okay, but this one wasn't bad. And for a convention, for service to your table, etc., I didn't find the prices bad at all. I can't eat the crust anyway. I just scrape the tops off and eat the cheese and the meat. The only bitch I had was I had keys go bad 3 times in the first 30 hours. And I had to keep going downstairs and getting new keys because something was killing them. And it wasn't my phone or anything. But other than that, I had no gripes at all. The valets were cool. I always had the little handicap spot out front, and hey, give me my keys, and I'd flip them some money once in a while, and everybody
and tip
was
those
happy.
guys, because there is no more broke and poor RPG designer than me. If they are, I want to meet them. Maybe we can arrange a roommate situation, and still $1 in the jar.
Absolutely, you got to.
The dealer area mushroomed again, and
oh Lord, yes.
I mean, remember like back to GaryCon 4, where the dealer room and the art room were all one little tiny thing, and it would just be a few of us at our art tables and 2 or 3, and the inevitable Chris Clark, and that was it.
Yeah, good old Chris. Yes.
And this
Chris
year
is always there.
This year, the dealer area spilled out into the halls. There was one whole extra room down there next to the art hangout place.
Well, yeah, the main room.
Lots of merch.
Yeah, the main room was bigger. There was a bigger spillover. Yeah, it was great. And we forgot the icon of gaming that was there, Lou Zocchi.
Oh, the Colonel.
85 years old, drove from Mississippi in a Toyota van so old it had classic car plates on it.
Poor Lou broke down on the way home too.
Did he?
Yeah, right here in Cincinnati.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh,
or somewhere in Ohio on the way back.
Oh, shit, if I'd known that, I'd driven down to help him, man. I love that old guy. I love it.
And they took care of him. Everything's fine.
And I asked him, I said, dude, is this thing good enough to do that drive? Well, I'm not sure, but I hope so. But that's Lou. He came up, he sold dice, he talked to people. He looks great.
I have a Lou story from this con.
Okay, here you go.
I go by and I wrote some stuff for Goodman Games that was in a D50 book that they did for his D50 die and a couple other little things. And I actually, in the Goodman newsletter, drew Lou Zocchi for the header. And so I just came up and introduced myself. He didn't remember who I was. So it was just like he met me for the first time because I'm, whatever. And
plus he's been in the business since before there was one.
Yeah, it's a faceless horde now. It's like the undead army in Lord of the Rings. But the point is, not remembering me at all, he had a copy of Superhero 2044, and it was only $25. And I'm like, okay, I can afford that. He wouldn't let me buy it. He's like, here, you need it that bad? You're doing a superhero game too? Have it.
That's Lou.
And here's a URL you can go to for some deal on my dice.
Well, and Prince he is. He's a prince. He just does these things surprisingly out of nowhere. But he's been in the business forever and ever. He drove an old Plymouth station wagon until I think somebody shot it and made him get a new car. And he's a pillar, a fixture of the industry. And he's 15 years older than I am, and drove up from Mississippi in the wintertime. Nuts? No, dedicated. Yeah, probably a little nuts too. We're all a little nuts. And he told me a good joke, which I can't tell her.
Later. After.
Yeah, after. Well, what else happened at GaryCon?
Lots of 5e. Huge 5e turnout. Pathfinder Society was there. You got called out of a game to participate in the auction, which I didn't see.
Well, there was a screw up, and I got to take a bunch of the blame for what happened on Sunday. I was sent an itinerary, and the itinerary had all my events, and it showed nothing on Sunday afternoon. It should have showed that I had one more wheel of blame. I didn't see that. I was going by the auction, filled my stupid roll, and stopped and said, I'll run a game for up to 8 players, auction it off however you want, because I didn't think I had anything to do. And they made another $300. So somebody else filled in on my game, and I feel really bad because I know that my game takes gold tickets or whatever. So if you're one of those people that are coming to Game Hole or at the next GaryCon, identify yourself to me. At any game I have less than 10 players going, because that's all I'll be running from now on, I'll give you the one that says Walker, the guy that walked up, and give you a spot at my table. I feel real bad about that. It was just a horrible miscommunication. I even went back and looked in the paper I printed out, and anyway, that's what happened there. So I screwed up there. If I hadn't done that, I would have been available, and they could have come found me somewhere and say, "Hey, dummy, you're supposed to be running a game," and I didn't. I was doing something else. So my bad on that. Sorry, guys who did it. I know it took you a big ticket. Guarantee you can walk into any of my games at either of those two cons in the future, and I'll pay you back.
Fair enough.
That's all I can do. And I don't know what else I can think of. This is going to be rough, old format. No fancy stuff at the beginning. No outro music at the end. My sponsors remain my sponsors. And
I need to mention, Tom Tullis bought me a steak dinner, and I'm just mentioning that so I don't screw it up and I get another one next year.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Steak dinner. Wow. I had butter burgers and cheese curds in town. Oh, well, got it. Of course, we loaded up on cheese curds, and Walmart blew it. Walmart used to have lots and lots of different kinds of cheese curds. They only got now is two kinds, white or yellow. And I used to spend like $50-$60 on cheese curds. So Piggly Wiggly came to, and I sent everybody that says, "Where do I go for cheese curds?" Because they all know I loved curds. Piggly Wiggly. So I hope Piggly Wiggly sold out. And of course, we got our spotted cow. I only brought home 4 bottles because I'm starting over. Like I'm 14 years old again, trying to build up a tolerance to alcohol. But I had to bring it back just because I promised somebody else.
My brother never had a spotted cow. He came back with a case.
Yeah. Oh,
so maybe he was part of why they sold out at Piggly Wiggly.
Spotted cow is brilliant marketing. Luke latched onto it right away as it was just coming around, and they saw the unique opportunity that a game convention with beer taps all over the place would fit, and they're new. And now they're like Coors used to be 40 years ago. Oh, you can only get it west of the Rockies. You can only get spotted cow in Wisconsin. They don't sell it anywhere else. Only
Is that true? So like even here in Cincinnati, if I go to Jungle Jim's, where they have every Belgian ale known to man.
Nope.
No spotted cow?
Only in Wisconsin. Oh,
there goes my brother's birthday present. So.
Yeah, well, I have some that have been in the cool garage for a while. Maybe I can fix you up. But no, it's only in Wisconsin. So it has a con cachet. So anybody that drinks beer is out. And I was at a place that was restocking because they had 12s and 24s and 6s, and he was restocking. And it was like Saturday afternoon. And he goes, "What's going on?" He goes, since I worked here, we never sold this much beer on Friday evening and Saturday morning. And they had, apparently the brewery knows, and they bring another truck like on Friday afternoon or Saturday morning and top off all the dealers that are selling, because they sell a gazillion bottles of spotted cow. And
I always wonder about that town. Lake Geneva's lovely. I'd like to see it sometime before I die when it's green. But, they barely ever knew TSR was there. It's the whole reason 3,000 gamers are crashing their town every March.
Well, and
they got to know something's up.
Well, and the funny thing is, back in the early 75, 76, while we were still at the Horticultural Hall, the locals would go,
"Who are those weirdos?"
Yeah, when are those weirdos coming this year?
Oh, right.
Oh, okay, let's go somewhere. So they just left. No, we didn't go anywhere except the Horticultural Hall, the church basement down the alley, and then we expanded up into the Legion Hall, which was 2 blocks away, north. It's not like we were wandering all over town in LARPing suits or cosplaying or True Dungeon stuff. But now
I don't think we have to do any of those things to seem weird. We're just weird.
Well, I think it was a lot of large guys in dark t-shirts, because that's what we were back then. A lot of large guys in dark t-shirts.
Or fedoras and Civil War caps.
Well, that could be too. All right. I got nothing else. You got anything else you want to say about GaryCon?
No. We could ramble all night.
With all that having been said, we'll save you the thought of rambling all night and say goodbye, and we'll see you again in a week.